Hi guys, my name is Melody. Thanks for stopping by, and today I am doing another book update. As you know, I do love to read, and I've been going through quite a few quite quickly besides my reading that I am doing for history this week. In my history reading, I have been reading about the Catalan company, was it Raymond Muntaner, and the Ottoman Turks, as well as more on the Princesses of Wales, which has been very good and in-depth reading, which I need to do more of tomorrow, so that I can get some of this work done for university. Now, the actual books that I have been reading this week, I actually finished 2 this week, which is really good for me. So I'm now 5 into my 40 for the year. I know that that's not much, but considering I have to read a lot of work for a university, 40 is what I generally possess as my goal. That includes audible books as well as physical books. I try to do at least one audible book and a physical book at the same time. So that when I go to bed, I do a bit of reading before I fall asleep, and when I am walking or listening to everything, I listen to my Audible. Please excuse my dogs. There is a storm outside, and they absolutely hate wind. I believe the one that is the culprit is the Westie. He is 9 years old, bless him. But he hates wind, he hates noise. Why is my nose so itchy? And he does not like the light. So he will be yapping in the background, but I want to get this done. So first of all, this week, I will tell you what I have finished reading. I keep looking down because I'm looking at my Goodreads. So I finished Call Me God, The Untold Story of the DC Sniper Investigation. Now, that is an Audible original, so if you do have Audible, I would suggest listening to it if you're into procedural crime, and how they captured the actual people who were committing this crime. I don't know if you know that it was more than one, but yeah. So this Audible original was by Jim Clemente, an ex-FBI agent, was doing the reading for the book, and there was interviews and with many people involved, as this was a national operation. I thought this was extremely well done because it is done in a documentarian style. So you would hear like the footage from the TV reports, the radio reports, and things like that. But you would also get the inside information from those investigating. Now, the reason why it was really good is because of the victims. Now, that's not saying that any victimology is good. What it is meaning is that there was a focus on the victims and who they were to their family, and what happened to them. And like there was a real good focus, because a lot of times victims are completely left out of any true crime, and we just focus on the perpetrator. But for this one, it was very heavily focused on the people that were lost or hurt during this period of time. Now, I'm gonna just put this one out here because I actually can't remember this happening, and I lived in America at the time, and I was in Texas. I'm not sure if that's the reason why we didn't hear about it, but it would blow this, like the way they were able to catch him or catch them was absolutely amazing, and the police officers involved were brilliant in this. And like I say, not all police officers are good, but not all police officers are bad. We just have to take the good and the bad, and we look more at the good in this investigation. There was a lot of errors, though, made in the initial investigation, which actually lost them time to catch and could have saved some other lives, which is dealt with in this book. I would say that this is a hard listen, but it's a good listen. If you are triggered by any sort of violence or things like that, I wouldn't do that either. Now, the second book again, I finished Mindhunter by John E. Douglas. It was also had, who else was it that helped write it? Mark Olshaker. That was about the FBI and how they started analyzing criminal behavior and things like that. So it's what the Netflix show is based on. I haven't actually seen the Netflix show. I will probably watch it. I was excited to read this book. Now, when I was reading this book, there was a couple of things that put me off it a wee bit. So the first one I gave a 5 out of 5 on my Goodreads, which is brilliant. This one, I gave a 4 out of 5. I would say a 3.5. Now, I know it was written quite a while back. I think it was in the 90s. 1996. So, just telling my age, I was 15 at the time. And I do know that a lot of the way that people spoke towards women and things like that are a bit different from there. Because a lot of his own personal story is very cringy in the way that he talks about women and the jokes that he has. I would say not appropriate, but it depends on what you consider as PC sort of thing, and what you consider as things that you should do. It gives you a mindset of what type of person has to be a criminologist and a behavioral criminologist in the behavior unit at the FBI. It tells you how they caught some of the criminals and things like that, and gives an insight to that. It's not victim focused. There is a little bit of background. What really got me, like I said, with the way he was wording things was the fact that all the women were described as good looking. It was basically looks before anything else. That kind of gives me a bit of cringe, because I'd rather it be about, oh, this was this person. Oh, and besides, they were quite pretty, but not they were beautiful and that sort of thing. That's the description for the victims, is they're beautiful. And that's about it. So the reason why I would give it the 3.5 is because I felt like the victims didn't stand out. I know it's about the behavioral aspect of this. However, I would have gave it more if there was more maybe sympathy towards the victims. I mean, I'm not saying he's not sympathetic towards the victims, but it didn't come across to me as that. It came across to me as, this is what's going on. Here's what we're doing. This is how we solved the case. Here's the horrific things he did. And the victims are a side thought sort of thing. So that's why I didn't give it much to that. Otherwise, it was a very good book. There was some cases. There was a case that was pretty close to home for me. It was actually happened about 20 minutes away from where I grew up. I believe it's the reason that my parents would not let me out on my own, and they kept a close eye on me because there was an abduction and a murder, and I'll just say that. But if you do like the TV show and you do like the series, you will like this book. I do recommend it. I just say keep an open mind, because it was written in the 90s. The language is a bit different from what we would use today. There is not a victim focus. It's more focused on the perpetrators and how to catch them and things like that. There is some bits that will be cringy, but some people won't think that. It's just my own personal opinion. And remember, all these opinions here are my own, and I don't get paid at all for doing this. It's just a hobby. So, Unless you all want to get me 4,000 subscribers. Woo woo. Anyway, whatever. It's whatever. Okay, so that one. Oh, another one I finished. I don't know if I said this. It was Conviction by Denise Mina. That was really good. Oh yeah, I did on my last one. That's fine. So that's what I finished in like books form. So Mindhunter was physical book. Call Me God was the Audible book. I'm currently listening to the Weird Sisters, Discworld number 6. It's one of the witches books by Terry Pratchett. This one is based on Macbeth. It's a brilliant book. It's like a very relaxing thing. I haven't picked another book yet to read in the evening. I do have some on my desk in the living room, which I will pick one of those and I will start reading it soon, and that'll be added. I do have another book that is up for the book club that I'm in. It's hosted by Peter Mon and Mel, who are brilliant hosts, and lovely discussion in the Goodreads. If you want to join that, I would suggest go to Peter Mon's book club channel and join the book club, because it's all true crime based. So if you don't like true crime or you're like very triggered about that, don't worry about it. I find it interesting as someone who has studied child psychology and things like that before. I do find it quite interesting. My father was actually a police officer, and to be honest, that started the whole, like, we used to watch Cops and things like that when I lived in Georgia, because that's where I'm from, Georgia. Woohoo! Anyway, so the next book that we're going to be reading in that book club, which I have yet to purchase because I need to wait till we get paid, because you know what, February, January, not a good month for money. Butcher Baker, A True Account of a Serial Murder. This one is, I will just read the synopsis from Goodreads. The true account of Alaska serial killer Robert Hansen, the baker who hunted the streets of Anchorage and Seward in the 70s and 80s, butchering up to 30 young women. This book details the extraordinary work and dedication of a handful of Alaska state troopers who brought him to justice. Now, saying that, when reading Mindhunter, chapter 13 is about this. So I have read a bit about this already. I think this is more in depth. I'm not sure how many pages this is. 342 pages, published in 1991. So again, a book that was published when I was a child. So we'll have fun at reading this. So I'm going to read that. I'm going to finish The Weird Sisters. I'm going to pick a book off my desk to read, and hopefully I'll have another update for books next week. I am going to be on a reading week at university, which is the week where you're supposed to do all your stuff. However, I'm doing a volunteer week as well, so that may come into play. And I've got to get new glasses because, you know what, if I can't see, I can't read. And I've had to change a lot of the settings on most of my things. So yeah, great. So let me know what you're reading down below. Can you like maybe recommend some books that are interesting? Because I don't get a lot of time to search for books these days. I kind of just go into a bookstore and just like pick up whatever. If I do end up popping in when I have the time and the spare funds. But let me know what you're reading and recommend some things that I can talk about as well. And if you have any ideas for videos, because you know what, this is my hobby now, I would love to hear them. Put some comments down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like the makeup I'm wearing, I've done a video on that, and you can go see that. That will also be on this channel, because I'm not separating my videos because, you know what, laziness and lack of time. Anyway, I love you guys, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.